Hello, beautiful mamas. Welcome back to Beyond Motherhood, the podcast that helps you to reclaim yourself, reconnect with joy, break free from the cycles of overwhelm and resentment, and start to come home to yourself a bit as a woman beyond the mother and all things in between. And I'm your host, Monique Bathurst, if you're new here. And today we're going to be diving into a topic that many of us struggle with as mothers and as women, and that is pleasure. And I'm not just talking about sex pleasure, though that, of course, is part of it too. I mean, all forms of pleasure, when we really break down what pleasure is, it's joy, it's creativity, it's play and playfulness, it's self expression, movement, all those things that really make us feel alive and excited by life. And, somewhere along the way, we've been conditioned as from when we were girls that this belief that pleasure is a luxury, that it's self-indulgent, and we only engage in it when the dishes are done, when the kids are put to bed, when we've checked off all of the million things on our to-do list. And I'm here to say pleasure is not frivolous, pleasure is not unproductive, and it's definitely not self-indulgent. It is absolutely 100% necessary. And for us to really engage and immerse ourselves in life to our fullest, it's something that we really do need to tap into a lot more as mothers, especially. And I'm going to tell you why. And it's actually quite interesting. As I'm recording this, if you listened to last week's episode, I said that there was a cyclone imminent. Well, I'm actually in the cyclone now. The cyclone has somewhat passed through. It's now just a lot of rain and a lot of wind. And I'm hoping you can't hear the rain too much outside. But it's been a funny weekend. It's my weekend without my children. So I've been home by myself. I have ducked out when it's been safe to do so to grab some things from the shops when they've been open. And I actually did go to the gym this morning because I really wanted to get out of the house. But it's been a real weekend of just immersing myself in things that give me pleasure and joy. And that has ranged from reading my novel, having a bath, giving myself a facial. What else have I done? Obviously going to the gym, doing some movement, watching a movie, like just so many things that, yes, I do some of these things in my day-to-day life and on the weekends that I usually don't have my children anyway, but because I've not been able to really go out much at all, it's been a real joy in many ways to be able to do this, despite the fact that there's craziness and chaos outside of the house with this cyclone and with people losing power and trees falling down on homes and in the streets. And I think that's such a real reflective piece too when we think about the chaos in our lives that we so often experience and the busyness, and like how can we come back to that pleasure as well. I've been so lucky. Just a side note, I've been so fortunate where I live. Seems to be everywhere around me has lost power. We had a few little I had a few little flickers last night of it going off, but fortunately safe and sound here. Power's on. My kids are safe. They're with their dad, but they don't have power and they're kind of flooded in a bit at the minute. So they can't even come over or anything. So that is a bit of a struggle in itself. But coming back to pleasure, and it can so often be misunderstood. And I think especially for women, especially for mothers in this culture that glorifies productivity and achievement and the hustle, and where our worth is measured by how much we do and sacrifice and keep everything running. And pleasure, it kind of is like this little extra thing. Once we do this, then we can do that, then we can look after ourselves, access joy, all of those things. And it can often be seen as unimportant and even selfish. And even when it comes to rest and doing that, like we have to earn things, right? And that self-care, nourishing yourself should be productive, like a workout or meal prepping. And don't get me wrong, I love going and doing a workout, but that's just one piece of the puzzle. and that anything that's purely just for enjoyment is a waste of time. Why are you doing that? We think of it as being lazy. And I hear myself sometimes, when people are like, oh, what did you do on the weekend? I'm like, oh, it's just a lazy weekend. Like, because we're so trained and conditioned to have that sort of mentality and those words and that way that we describe things, even though it's needed sometimes, right? And we deny ourselves that pleasure, and we deny ourselves just a key part of being a fucking human, really. And when you think about your kids for a second and how they engage in pleasure, and they don't even question it. They will run barefoot on the grass. Like, my youngest hates wearing shoes. Like, if he doesn't have to wear shoes, he won't. And I don't force it. Even when we go to the shops. I mean, it has been challenging at times because he'll get splinters and things, and we're at the playground. But anyway, they'll run barefoot. They'll go and jump in puddles and get muddy and dirty without a second thought. They'll sing at the top of their lungs. Like, my kids will sing all day, and sometimes like just loop same things on repeat, which can drive you a bit batty, but it's not even a thought for them as to why they're doing it. They just do it, right? They don't earn their joy. They just follow that aliveness. They follow what feels good. And yet, again, like, somewhere along the way, we learn to suppress that instinct. And even as a parent, like, sometimes I even notice myself squashing that instinct, like being, oh, I don't want you to get dirty, or, oh, don't bring mud in the house, or, oh, can you stop singing that? Like, all those things. And look, we all do it, right? Because we all have our own triggers, and we all have our own, we're overstimulated at times, right? And things. But, I even notice and check on myself, and catch myself when I'm saying things like that. I'm like, oh no, what can I do for myself to try and ease and minimize that overwhelm or that overstimulation or that trigger or whatever it is, right? Because our kids, they will just do the things that feel good. And if you're a boy mum, I won't go into it. I'm sure you've noticed if you've got young boys, and they have a little bit of an obsession with their parts and things as well, which, again, that's not what I'm here to talk about. But again, it's just them going straight into pleasure. That feels good. I want to touch my body, that type of thing. But when you think about, well, why is pleasure necessary? Like, if you're thinking that, and why do we need to do it? Like, what's the purpose? When it comes to, I guess, more from a bit of a nerdier perspective, when we engage in things that give us joy, give us pleasure, whether that's painting, getting your creativity on, reading a novel, dancing, listening to a song, laughing, singing, cuddling, having a cuddle with your partner or your kids or a friend, going and dancing in the rain. Like right now, like I went outside to go and shovel some water this morning because my backyard was flooding a bit, and just kind of put it into a drain that wasn't blocked. And I was just like, oh, I just stood in the rain for a minute and just was like, this actually feels really nice on my skin. Like, those types of things. Our brain actually releases feel-good hormones and chemicals in our brain that have us feeling good. Dopamine, oxytocin, our bonding love hormone, endorphins. These are the feel-good chemicals and hormones that reduce stress, that boost our mood, and that also help us to regulate our nervous systems. So there is a neurological reasoning behind it as well as to why I don't want to say should, but why we can be doing this and what it is doing to serve us in a positive way. Because pleasure is literally medicine for an overwhelmed, overstimulated, burnt out mum. It shifts us, and it can shift us out of survival mode, and it can help us to expand our capacity to handle stress and help us to reconnect with our body and how what was the other word I was about to use? And just start the sensations and start to notice and be more aware of our internal world and our internal landscape. And when we feel more regulated and more at home in ourselves, we start to show up a heck of a lot differently. We parent with more patience. And I notice that so much in myself. We can enjoy life instead of just feeling like we're dragging our feet to the finish line each day, right? And so when we start to reclaim pleasure, we start to not justify it. And I've noticed this so much in myself because we have been taught for so long that it doesn't matter or that it's not a priority, right? But it's a permission slip we need to give ourselves. You don't need to justify your joy. You don't need a reason to do something that feels good for you. And you definitely don't need to wait for everything to be perfect and picked off and done before you can let yourself enjoy life a little more and tap into those things that really have you feeling good and even enjoying motherhood and life a little bit more instead of, that default that we always go into. I'm so busy. And good, look, don't get me wrong, we are. But instead of feeling like you're just hustling and grinding all the time, like giving yourself that permission to just slow down a little bit and to do the things that are going to help you feel a little bit more joyful. And if that's rest, if that's lying on the couch and reading a novel, or watching your favorite sitcom or whatever it is, or just moving your body without it having to be exercise and really a quote unquote goal, it's not going to the gym. The gym brings me lots of joy as well. But when we can do things that without really needing a goal or there needing to be some sort of outcome from doing it or achieving something from doing it, that is when, we can really start to, feel that permission and feel like we're actually doing the things that are really our birthright instead of feeling like we have to do things and should be doing things because society tells us. And, that it can be starting small so you're not overwhelming yourself even more by feeling like you need to add anything to your to-do list. It's a real big one. It can be little things like putting on some music and just moving to it, or literally just sitting there and listening to the song instead of it just being background noise. Just start small. Give yourself permission this week to start small and to bring one thing, whether that's every day or just one thing this week that brings you pleasure and joy and your body feels lit up and excited and tingly and good and you're smiling and all those things. So the more we do start to prioritize pleasure, the more we can expand our capacity for receiving love, for receiving joy, for receiving rest and connection. And that doesn't just change us, it actually changes how we show up for everyone around us. And, your kids, my kids see me doing it all the time now, like, especially in the kitchen. I always bring so much joy into the kitchen. I've always got music on. I'm always dancing around, singing. And sometimes my kids come in and join me. But the thing is, they're watching you and you're modeling to them that they also have permission as they grow to experience joy and pleasure and make it just part of life as it should be. So just to finish up today, and I'm hoping this is all recorded fine, pleasure is not a reward. It is not something that you have to earn. As I said, it's your birthright. You are a human being who deserves to access your joy and pleasure. And when you allow yourselves to feel more pleasure, not just in the big moments, not just in going and doing something for an hour, in those little everyday micro moments, you create life that feels so much richer and fuller, and you feel more radiant and you feel more alive. So I want to just challenge you again today and for the week ahead to find one thing that brings you pleasure, no matter how small that is, whether it's just savoring your morning coffee, just noticing how good it feels to have that first sip of coffee in the morning, and say yes to it and do it and make it a priority. Consciously commit to it. So if this episode resonated with you, do share it with another mama who may need to hear this for herself today. And let's start normalizing pleasure in our lives as women and as mothers, because it is not a luxury, it is a necessity, and you bloody well deserve it. So if you feel called to leave a comment, give a 5-star rating or share it on your socials, and make sure to tag me at Monique Bathurst. All my details are in the show notes. And until next time, remember you're worthy of joy and pleasure, and you are, because you are a human being. Thank you for tuning in, and I will speak to you all next week.